Doreen Grand-Pichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. Okay, I want to get to this question that this parent has been waiting for. They write, I have a 14-year-old son with a dual diagnosis of autism and Downs. He is L2. I don't know what that means. Oh,
level 2.
Got it. But I know there are two numbers. I know that makes you crazy, Dr. Gray.
It does.
Maybe it's a 2-2. I don't know. They say he is verbal. He asks me the same question over and over. I seem to be his trigger, despite me ignoring his behavior and using a poker face and modeling the correct behavior. He is always laughing and joking with me when he should not be doing that. I've answered questions and he continues to ask me despite me ignoring him as well. I also gave him other questions to ask me, but he still asks me over and over the same question, how are you feeling today? Mm-hmm. And I'm sending a hug to this dad because I know he's an amazing dad. But, a lot of us have, we have had the perceptive question. It is crazy making, but that it's persisting and that he is 14 years old and they're trying different things. And when you can't find the thing that works, it's really hard. So what do you want to say to him?
Oh, I have so many things to give you. I just have a lot to give you right now. Okay, so again, let's start with, I'm not sure what level 2 is because there are usually two numbers. So, and level 2 means mid-range. So I'll just assume that both on language level and on stereotypy, he's on mid-range. So kind of like in the middle there, which gives me kind of an idea of his functioning level, although I don't like to use that term. So what I would do, I think he is trying to interact. And a lot of times our kids, you mentioned, the parent who wrote that mentioned that I ignore him and model the right behavior for him. That is not ignoring. If you are modeling the right behavior for him, that means you're interacting. And so he is getting an interaction from you at that point. So what I would suggest is that you separately, like when that occurs, you answer it one time. When he asks you, how are you feeling? You answer it one time. And when you answer it, you hold up a finger so that he knows you're going to answer it one time. Okay, one. And then after that, you walk away. Okay, you just literally do not interact at all during that time frame. Now, separately, I want you to practice other questions with him that you will answer. So write out a list of 5 questions that would be appropriate for him to ask. Something like, how was work? What do you want to do today? What did you eat for breakfast? I don't know. You decide, because that, it has to do with whatever is appropriate in your social life. Have him prompt him to say those. And you can do it in a multitude of ways. You can model those for him. You can write them out for him, whatever it is, and answer those. And just do it. I know it seems artificial, but it'll be a different way that he can interact. And now you need to start going into more of an exchange so that he's not just asking one time and you're answering one time. You start to have, we call that statement or, question statement. You need to start doing more of that. So kind of like then ask him a question and have him answer. And you start getting to a point where it's a short conversation. And as soon as they start getting repetitive or rote the way that it is right now, put it away and go to a whole new conversation. And so those are the things. And as you do those, remember, what he's trying to do is interact with you. So what you're trying to do is give him more different ways to interact. And that's the key to it.
Wonderful. We've got so many, and I hope that helps. And I hope you'll write back to us and tell us, because if something isn't working, let's tweak, right? I just want to acknowledge everybody who's writing in. I'm going to get to as many questions as I can. I'm going to try to do them in order when it makes sense. We're saying hi to Rito, who's watching from Juarez, Mexico. Sarah, so glad that you are here with us. Ka, good morning. NH says, my 4.5-year-old son's cognitive testing showed a large weakness in fluid reasoning and processing speed, but nearly average verbal comprehension, which is great, and superior working memory. They also said he had a lot of trouble staying on task throughout, focusing throughout, and that likely lowered his score. Aren't the working memory and fluid reasoning scores the opposite of the typical autistic profile? And I just lost.
What does that mean? Should I be worried? How do we help him improve fluid reasoning? That's the remainder of that question.
Okay.
And wonderful. I'm so happy that you went and got this neuropsych testing, or maybe it was IQ testing, but these are important things to learn. Yes, you are right that usually working memory might be low with some kids on the spectrum, but like I said, all kids are different. So this is wonderful. And I think Traven's writing in that there's more to this.
There is more. Yeah, there was
He's
more
great
just below.
with concrete patterns and puzzles. It is more abstract reasoning. Exactly. That seems to be the problem. Will that improve as he gets older? No, it does not improve unless you teach it to him. And there are lots and lots of ways you can teach it to him. And let's talk about that for a minute, because this is all about flexibility. And I love teaching flexibility. It's so cool because you work on, if you think about it, there are so many things that we produce rules for that are just, they're just rules we made up. So you can absolutely change those rules. One of the things we do, and it depends on 4.5, perfect, is that we do games that are usually based on rules, and we change the rule. So for instance, if a game says, you have to collect as many cards as you can and you win, then we say, you have to get rid of all your cards. Or somehow you change the rules of the game. And at first, it's very frustrating for our kids when we do that, but then they learn that, things can be different, right? And that's just one way of teaching it to them. There's many ways of teaching flexibility. For example, you will change a routine. For example, you will change the order of that things are done in, like having dessert before lunch, or you know what I mean? For example, you will observe some of the routines that he's developed, and like in grooming himself and dressing and whatever, change the order of things, change the direction you drive, change things like that, and point them out. Those are the things that produce flexibility, but there's a lot of them. Skills is out there. Skills, what was the URL for Skills? I think it's skillsforautism.com,
Yes.
if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And you can go on there, and there's a whole section on teaching flexibility. It's in the executive functioning curriculum. And it is, you go in the EF curriculum, and there's a whole section on inhibition and flexibility, and you will look in there. I'm pretty sure these days, if you Google teaching flexibility, you'll see a lot of ideas about how to do that. But those are the areas that you need to work on, and actually it will really help his fluid reasoning, right? It will help that. I mentioned the other day, I think it was on the show when we were talking about, there's a test as well where, like, you can actually do this as well, which will help him. You can take a sheet of paper, and on the paper write, all over the paper, like A, B, C, D in different places, and then also write 1, 2, 3, 4, that kind of thing, and have him start track 1 to A, to 2 to B, to 3 to C. That's called set shifting. And it teaches your brain to reason faster. So it goes from one set, cognitive sets, which is numbers, to another cognitive set, which is letters, and it teaches your brain to go back and forth. Now, you also mentioned that he's a little bit slow on processing speed, and or has a large weakness on processing speed. That I find is a very, very important feature of a lot of issues that our kids have. So that's another thing where you can try to increase his speed by just timing him. But I will tell you that our processing speed increases the more familiar we are with content. So, for instance, if I'm speaking English, which is not my first language, I don't think about it, right? It's a natural, fast processing. If I'm speaking French, I have to think me down, right? So when you know your content well, your processing speed goes up. So one of the things we do in ABA is when you've mastered a new subject or a new topic, whatever it is, a new operant, a new exemplar, a new lesson, you will really, really practice it fast. And this is, you're trying to increase fluidity. You're trying to increase just speed. And that's actually really important in learning because it just comes easier to you if you are very, very fast at things. So those are things you could do. You could practice known content, things that he already knows. But like we do it, like for instance, you can just pop out questions on little index cards. I don't know if he can read or if not, or you could just put pictures, but put them down fast. What is it? What is it? Good, good, good. Really fast. Like getting the child to respond fast is increasing his processing speed.
There we go. Parker, our friend Parker writes in and wants to know, what's the best way to teach vocational and life skills to adults? My friend's dad had to pull her brother with Downs out of school due to the school not doing a very good job. My friend is a speech pathologist, I can't talk today, pathologist, excuse me, and her brother-in-law is a SPED teacher. The parents don't have a clue about what to do and they need advice. Parker has been able to give them some advice on the subject, but I feel like they also need expert help. I also feel that this can help the neurodivergent community at large. Please help me.
Of course, Parker, you're absolutely right. This is a very, very important thing. Again, so when I developed skills, which was kind of the curriculum that we wrote for CARD years and years ago, we also then later developed a skills for adults, which I think is called living, skills living. And you can look that up. They can look that up. They can get a license for it. And there's many, many, many sections. One section is vocational skills, and it is broken down, and life skills. Obviously, that's a whole nother section. But it's using the techniques of combination of behavioral therapy or ABA, as well as, depending on the level of the adult, level of functioning of the adult, some cognitive behavior therapy skills. And it's like anything else, Parker. You break down the skill, you identify what vocation the child or the adult might be interested in, and you start to break it down and into steps, and you teach the steps and you reward the steps and you build. We have been successful at building quite advanced adult vocational skills for some of our adults. Now, CARD does have a couple of adult centers. I'm not sure if they're still open, but certainly I would really recommend looking up Skills Living, which is a curriculum which is online. And I'm sure there are also other curricula that are focused just on vocational skills. And then life skills, same thing, of course. And life skills, we've broken it down into much more detail, because when you say life skills, it could be something as basic as grooming yourself, or something as advanced as getting on a bus and going to university. You know what I mean? So these are all life skills. So, and we have it in multiple different categories, and those are very valuable.
Just to throw a couple of more logs on that fire, our dear friend Joanne Laura wrote a book it's based on the Autism Works Now method. It's called Teaching Pre-Employment Skills to 14 to 17-year-olds. I don't know why the publisher wanted to call it that, because it really was a curriculum that was designed to teach adults on the spectrum. But what it has, and what I think it's a perfect partner for Skills Living, or to be used either one of them separately, it has worksheets to teach the real practical things like, how do you set up an email? How do you respond to email? How do you ask for an interview? What kinds of things do you do in an interview? Those, like all the practical things that need to be taught. There's worksheets, and the whole curriculum is in this paperback book that you can get on Amazon. If you just look up Joanne Laura, you can find that. And if you want something more intense, there are more and more colleges that are doing a sort of life skills program that potentially can help people to go to college. And if they're not ready for even that, there's a place called Minnesota Life College, and there's more of those springing up, where the student actually goes away to a college-like experience where they just teach life skills. So it's interesting that more and more of those things are popping up, Parker. So let us know what ends up happening. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me, and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here. Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time on autismnetwork.com. We hope to see you there.